Motormouth Jenkins here, welcoming you to our brand new YouTube channel. Hope that you'll come back and see every segment each and every week, and I will share preventative maintenance tips and regularly scheduled maintenance tips for your car. So whether you know a little bit about your car or absolutely nothing, this is the channel just for you, where I share over 35 years of experience as a qualified and licensed service technician with truck and coach, light truck and passenger vehicles. Come back and visit us and tell your friends, and we'll see you each and every week right here in the Car Connection Workshop on YouTube. Niall Motormouth Jenkins here. Welcome, friends, to the Car Connection Workshop. I'm your host, Niall Motormouth Jenkins, for the last 3-4 decades. Been in the industry for way too long, but I still enjoy it and have fun. If you can't have fun, stay in the closet. That's what I tell people all the time. So thanks for stopping by. We're back on the 1997 Jeep TJ Wrangler, first year of the Wrangler. I understand from the Jeepsters out there. I'm getting educated. I've never owned one, but I rescued this one from being scrapped. Crushed. We rescued it from the crusher. The push now is to get the engine ready. The engine that was in the Jeep was the reason why it was in the wrecking yard to begin with. The motor was done. It had seriously expired, and you'll have to stick around for show and tell because I'm going to take some of the parts that caused the Jeep Wrangler to be in the wrecking yard and show you what happened. What put it there, and how could it have been avoided? And yes, it all could have been avoided, and this Jeep would have still been on the road today. So we're getting it back on the road. I wanted to put the same engine in, which is a 2.5 PowerTech engine. It was designed and built by Chevrolet. The predecessor to this was the Iron Horse 4-cylinder. But this is just perfect for what we're going to do with the Jeep when we're done. And I wanted to put that in this intro. Was why is it taking so long to get this done? Well, it took us 4 months to find a motor. I wanted to rebuild the old one, but it was going to be, my good friend at the machine shop said, Niall, no. It's going to be like $6,000 to try and save the motor that's coming out of there. He says, it is destroyed. Find another one. Well, it took us 4 months, and through Jeepster networking, somebody spotted a motor on Marketplace. Bam! I connected with the guy. It turns out that I knew of the guy that I bought it from out in Toronto. Works for Cummins. Nice chap. And so we put it all together and got the motor here. So now it has about 125,000 kilometers on, which is what the young chap I bought it from. He bought the Jeep out of Wasaga Beach. Him and his family were up there for some vacationing time, and he's rebuilding his Jeep he's had for decades. It's from early 80s, I think a CJ. Don't quote me, I'm still learning all that stuff. But anyways, early 80s, and the frame is done. So he finds this Jeep up in Wasaga Beach. The frame is perfect. There's lots of usable components. So he was able to buy it, and he knew it had 125,000 kilometers on, and it had been parked for quite some time. So anyways, long story short, he gets the frame to build his Jeep. He posts the 2.5, which we're looking for, and all the drivetrain with it. I was hoping to score another transmission manual, because this is a manual transmission, 5-gear. And my friend John sent me the article on Marketplace. He goes, "Now you got to connect with this guy." I talked to him. This is what you need. You need this. Maybe you can get the whole drive line. And he was offering motor, transmission, and a bunch of other stuff for like $500. So a gift. So by the time I connected with him, the drive line was sold, but the engine was still available. Voila. So that's how all that had to happen for us to get a motor it was born with that fits, because there was nothing out there. Absolutely nothing. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was one guy who had one. with 300,000 kilometers for $3,000. No, you're not going to do that. I wouldn't even do that for you. So we got a low mileage. We're going through it. I've done a lot of used engine installs, and I go through the same checklist before this thing goes in. It won't need anything other than servicing when I'm done. And same with the rest of the truck. Everything is done. Brakes are all done all the way around. We got new shocks. We got a new clutch, U-joints in the drive shafts. I've done all the stuff that is normal wear and tear, suspension issues as well. And you can watch those other videos on our YouTube channel, Niall Jenkins. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow, and ring the bell. It's all for free. All right, so here we are. Today, we've been working on, we're putting in new timing gears, timing chain, and tensioner kit. But I also want to look into the bottom of the engine. I know what the top of the engine looks like. And I've got the ports all cleaned out here to do new freeze plugs. It's getting all new freeze plugs in it. I've got 2 freeze plugs back here that are leaking oil, which is common apparently to this engine, the 2.5. So it's getting a complete freshen up, not a rebuild. It only has 125K. The cylinders look good. The pistons look good. I had the cylinder head done and dressed. It's inside the truck waiting for us, all wrapped up. But I haven't looked in the bottom of the engine yet. So that's what we're going to do together today, is you're going to see the bottom of the engine before it goes in. And when it's all almost all dressed, I'm going to pressure wash it and paint the block and paint everything all together. And then the motor will go in at that point. We put a new clutch on the back of it. Can't do that because it's on the stand right now. But you'll get a chance to see all of that happen in all of the segments. So don't miss a single segment on our YouTube channel, because this is a way for you to see how do you attack this. Because, you know, I don't let anybody into the studio anymore in here, into the Car Connection workshop, because you know what they do? They drive me crazy. I have to tell them 2 things. I look at them and give them the stink eye, and I go, 2 words times 2. Shut up and get out. Because why? Was that a little tough? Was it a little harsh? Well, when you know the people and you're joking, it's all right. They go, oh, Motormouth, you're such a geek. And I go, no, it's just that when you come over, you go, well, how long before that's done? How much more time before that's finished? When are you going to have that ready? And they just kind of go through everything like that. But if you go to their house, you can find stuff they need to do too. But I don't point it out. But that's why I say, you can't come in no more. Yeah. But you guys can. You're in here. So this is the next step for this pre-owned motor. I don't have a ton of history on it other than what I just shared with you. So we're going to pull the oil pan, and so that we can have a look at everything in the bottom end. But what you're going to see is it's easier to pull the oil pan than wrestle with 2 bolts that there's a good opportunity they're going to fall into the oil pan. Now what I've done here is, notice I've got 2 bolts that are studded here, 2 bolts that are studded over here. They need to go back in those positions. So what I do for my eyesight is I put a little daub of welder's marker on there. And this is your friend when you're working on stuff. Get a white one or a yellow one. Mark stuff as you're going along. And I've done that for a long time. So I've also marked the block where these studded bolts have to go back into that position. And right now, I'm not sure, I can't remember what was fastened onto these studs. It could be wire harness, it could be brake lines, fuel lines, whatever. Something has to go back in this position on either side, because that's why they're studded. So we're going to take those out. And you'll say, well, you just took the dots out. Yeah, but I marked the block too. So, and those marks are still going to be there till I paint the block. Then I put everything into a Ziploc bag and I mark what it is. And that's all that goes in that bag. And that's how you can keep yourself organized, because we've waited 4 months to find this motor. So you can forget a lot of stuff. Like, where was I? What was I talking about? Something about egg salad sandwiches. Feed the chickens mayonnaise. Just saying. It might help. Might help you make chicken salad faster. I don't know. But anyways, that's what I do. I use Ziploc bags that have been used for whatever in the kitchen, wash them out, and I use them in the shop. And when I'm done with those, they go into the recycle bin, and it all happens. Now down here, we have a bracket that is important. It's on the pan to create equal pressure. Don't just throw it away. And I've seen that happen a lot, and it causes problems. If it was born with it, it should go back there. So it sits right on this outer lip, which will pull down on the gasket that's going to go inside there. So we've got all the bolts out now. I took a bunch of them out earlier, and just show you how we're going to take that off. I just go in on a corner. I don't go in on the side. I just go in on a corner. And don't use something that's shaped flat. And you'll hear it separate. Hear that? So now you don't have to go crazy. Just pry up. And again, if you're reusing this pan, you don't want to buckle it. But in this case, this pan is original to the motor, and it's pretty rough. If I clean this all off in the blaster, it's going to be porous. So I had another pan, rescued it from the original motor. So now we're going to take this off. Man, that's pretty heavy. You could probably make a Hyundai Accent out of that. Or a baby bath. Or charcuterie, I don't know. You're welcome to have it. But anyways, I don't see any, you know what I'm looking for though, is I'm still looking for another light that I can't find. Maybe it's in here. There's no nuggets. And we're not talking gold nuggets. There's no metallic in here. See this moisture here? Right here? You know what that's from? See the rust on the outside? That tells me the pan is porous. Right there, so good call. Good call that we say, goodnight Irene, and get rid of it. But there's no metallic particles in the bottom of the sump. So that tells me and kind of confirms the engine is in good shape. So we're just going to pitch this out the window. We're just going to set that off to the side. And we're going to have a little look down inside here and just peekaboo at, let me get my lightsaber. We're just going to have a look and just check and make sure everything looks clean, and the pistons look really, really good. So I am pleased. I am pleased with that. Yes, because that also confirms the engine is low mileage. Same with here. Got a little bit of wear on the one cam lobe here, but everything looks really, really clean. So I'm really happy with that. Oil pump as well, because we're going to leave the oil pump in there. Again, you want to check the screen and for chunkies, because will also give you verification that the engine is that low mileage, because I trusted the fellow I was talking to. He's in the trade, and he was a good chap, and he wasn't trying to sell me something that is a boat anchor, and it's definitely not. But look at how clean the block is in here. It's crazy good. See how clean it is? There's no sludge. Everything is clean. How clean? Super clean. Yeah, this is really, really good. So I'm happy. I'm very happy with this, because even the camshaft is looking good. That's this component here. That's the big gear. That's the camshaft. That opens and closes the valves on each cylinder times 4. And the cam lobes look really good, especially right here where my finger is. Just shine down in there. cam looks really, really good. So I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased indeed, because that confirms that we have a really good donor. And that's what matters. When you're going through an engine like this or any other, it's exciting when you know you've got a really good donor. And if you just want to pan over to the Fire Chicken, we're going to be working on that next. I've had that. That's another car that you'll get to see. That's been in storage for almost 30 years, and I brought it out. But I put that engine in back in early 90s. I think it was 91. I put that engine in that car, and that was a donor 305 high output. The car came in with a blown engine. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't change the oil or check it. Okay, we're going to move into the next phase. Not the warm liquid goo phase, but it's time to take the timing gears off. So I'm going to do that right in front of you so that you can see how it's done and how it works. And you're allowed to stay and ask questions. That's okay. In the comment section, you can ask questions. It's safe. It's okay. I'm all right now. I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. So that's what we're going to do next. I'll just explain what I've done here first so that you can get a better understanding. I like to work close to my work so that you can get a good bird's eye view. Now here's what I set up so that you can see what's going on, and I can explain it to you so that, you know what? You can explain it to someone else. Did you see what happened there? Yeah, we need this. That's the true crankshaft bolt for the balancer. So what I've done here is I've marked my timing marks. So let's just take this little dish off for a minute. And you know what, guys? When you take this off, set it so that you can see it. Because if I put that there, there's a good chance I button this up and I forget about it and it's all closed and the pan's on, and then you go, I forgot to put the oil splash guard there. And yeah, it's really important, because what this does is it deflects oil back to the chain instead of it coming this way, hitting the timing cover. So just do that, is keep it where you can see it. All right, so what I've done is I've marked my timing marks. Regardless, if you watch segment number 1, there was a bit of a quandary. Yeah, a quandary. That when the timing marks are lined up, in normal cases, then that would say that our distributor rotor should line up to cylinder number 1. Because on this engine, remember what we determined if you watch the first segment is, the firing order is 1-4-3-2. 1 and 4 fire together. Is that right? 1 and 4 fire together. 2 and 3 fire together. So when the engine's at top dead center, that's 0 degrees, then the distributor should be pointing towards number 1. Cylinders number 1 and 4 in this case should be at the very top, and there's cylinder number 1. It's right there. So when these timing marks are lined up, the ignition rotor is actually aimed at cylinder number 4. But I did a little homework, and I have to tell you this. I went into some chat rooms for Jeep people, and I was looking for someone to give me an answer, and there was actually a young fella, I'm going to say young chap, a feller, asking the same question. When these timing marks are lined up, the distributor doesn't line up to cylinder number 1. I must have read 20 posts from different Jeep guys, and I came out of that chat room going, yada, 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 yada. There wasn't one single straight answer for the fellow that was saying, I'm doing my timing chain and gear set, but what I notice is when the timing marks line up from the crankshaft to the camshaft, that the ignition rotor is pointing at cylinder number 1, not number 1 cylinder. Why? He's asking, why? And I came out of there just going, could not one person nail it down and say, this is it, it's black or it's white, or it's white or it's black? Well, I do have the answer. I do have the answer. And I'm going to see if I'm right. This is the timing mark for the crank and the cam. And my point will be when we're done and we put new gears in and new chain and new tensioner. And right now you can really see that the tensioner is right to the very end. Like there's no spring tension. This, if the chain was brand spanking new, this would be all the way back like that, and that spring would be collapsed like this under tension, and the chain would be nice and tight. But it isn't. It's sloppy. So even though it has a low kilometers, about 125K, the tensioner is all the way to the ends, which means the chain is stretched to the point where the tensioner cannot put any more tension against the chain. So my conclusion was there's a couple of things that I have found that this engine must have been running like doo-doo. Really, really bad. So again, let's go back to the timing marks, and then we'll come back to the why is the distributor rotor, ignition rotor, pointing at number 4 cylinder instead of number 1. I have a theory, but in that chat room, not one person could nail it. It was all over the map. So here's what we got. Crank is lined up to the cam. There's the timing marks. There's a dot here. I always mark the tooth so that it's like an arrow, and I always mark the dot on the cam, and then I mark the tooth as well. So what I can do is very quickly put a screwdriver across, and I see I'm lined up. And I've put a mark on my bolt here, and the reason being is when I tighten this bolt back up, I know that the bolt will be plenty tight enough when it's back in that position with the timing marks. So if you're not using a torque wrench, you can still tighten this bolt on and put blue Loctite on the threads. That's removable. Same with on the crank bolt. You'll see me do it. I use blue Loctite. It's removable Loctite, and the bolt won't creep back. So when I'm finished, I'll have a new tensioner, new chain, new crank gear, new cam gear, and all in position, and I'll tighten this bolt up so that everything comes together. And then we will put the timing chain cover on, which I have all the parts and everything sitting on the chuck wagon over there. But one more thing I wanted to point out. Now, if the oil pan is on, you have 2 bolts right here that are Torx that are inside the oil pan. So how on earth would you get to those 2 bolts with the oil pan on and sneak them out of there and not drop a socket or drop the bolt inside the oil pan? And I got thinking about that this morning, and I thought that's something that should be pointed out. Is it possible to do it? Maybe. Is it more possible to drop your socket or one of the bolts or a bolt and the socket into the oil pan trying to get this off without removing the oil pan? I don't know if it could be done, but you know what? The motor is out, and I needed to have a look inside the engine and make sure that everything looks clean and confirm for myself that yes, this is a good donor to go into the Jeep. I only want to do the job one time. So now I am going to get into this and take those off. And how will we start? Gee, I don't know, Wally. Let's see. Well, I'm going to grab my handy dandy air hose. See, this is how I work. I set it up so I don't have to I can just get busy. So I need to undo the cam bolt. So I'm just going to use my zip gun here. Now it moved a little bit, but you know what? You can put it back very easily. That's why I did not move or take the timing chain or the tensioner off, because I knew undoing this, you're going to, even with the zip gun, you're still going to move it. You can't help it. So what we'll do is we'll just turn that back a little bit, even by hand. And it's easy right now because we have the cylinder head off. So the other thing you can do very quickly and very easily is just use this, screw it in there, and then just turn it back a little bit. And then remove the timing gear. But I'll probably take the tensioner off first. I don't know. It doesn't matter as long as it all comes off. Because you're not using this, you're not using this, you're not using this, and you're not using that chain. All that is going to be new. So the only thing you are using is the hardware from the tensioner, the cam bolt, crank bolt. That's all you're using. So it's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. So we'll just make sure we got that lined up. Put it back where it was. And again, you want to double check, just go across there. Line your screwdriver on the dot, and you're going to hit that one right there. You're good. We are good. Beautiful. So now we can just knock that right out of there without disturbing the timing gear very much at all. Just a quick jolt. And that's off. This is off. And then we'll use some cleaner, see how much oil's in there, because there's a lot of oil spraying down that way when this engine is running. That oil is cooking in there. So we'll clean that bolt off with some cleaner to make sure we can put some thread locker on there. And as I said, I use the Loctite blue in this case, removable Loctite. The red, you have to heat the bolts up to get the bolts free if and when you've got to ever go back in there. Okay, so now we need, I can easily pull this back and probably slip the chain right out of there right now. Just wiggle this off. Compressor time! Can anybody guess what that noise is? Put it down in the comment section. I heard it might be a bowling ball cleaning machine, but I don't even know what that sounds like. Okay, for me to get this off, you can use a puller, but I've done this before, so, and again, you know what, if it's your way, do it your way. You just use a couple of heel bars and just walk it around, and you see it coming off. Sometimes these can be a real bear. I've had to heat them up in some cases, but this one, she's coming off. So, oh, I think I just broke the tensioner. Well, that's too bad, because I'm replacing it anyway. I wouldn't do that if I were you. No. I'm doing it because it doesn't matter. This is all junk, the whole thing. So you can actually remove that if you want to. This piece of the chain is coming right out of there. Okay, so we need a torque, so I'm going to remove the tensioner. So we got to get a torque size. I don't know what size it is. Let's go to the box. Let's try down here. I have a feeling I just might have a kit. You know, your tools are your best friend in this job, and taking good care of your tools. I can't express that enough. It's probably going to be a T40, which I lent to somebody, and you know what they did? They broke it. Yeah, and that's what happens. Yeah, they broke my the T40 is broken. So what do you do next? Well, I guess we cancel our subscription. So then we have to plan B it. Let me see if I've got one up here. That size, T40. Nope, that's T30. So that isn't going to do it. That is, it's definitely a T40. That's a T45. So that will not work. But, okay, plan B. You always have to be able to plan B it. So this will work. T40. There we go, right there. And we're going to need a socket to go on there. Well, as you know, making sure that you have the right tools to do the job is good. I don't lend tools much anymore because that's what tends to happen. Okay, I know what we need. All right, so we've got the Torx. Now we just got to get the holder. So that's not a problem. I have a holder somewhere here, right here. And that's what tends to happen. You lend people tools, and it's like a rental car. They use it like they stole it. Or they just don't bring it back, one or the other. That's the way it works. There we go. So you always have to have more than one way to skin a cat. So this is what I'm saying. Imagine the oil pan being on, and you got to get to these two bolts through a hole that I can just barely, I have small hands, I think, is get in there, and these are going to be tight. How tight? I'm moving the whole motor. So I'm thinking when I'm looking at this, I'm going, I don't know how you're going to do that. Oh, man. They are on there. Wow. What do you do next? Let me see if I can jolt it a little bit. I don't know how you get those undone without putting a little bit of heat on them. You might have to, this is what I'm saying, how do you get those out? They might have Loctite on because, there we go. Say hallelujah. That's only one. Now imagine trying to get that undone with that oil pan in the way. I can't see it. Because you'd never get a 1/4 inch ratchet. This is a 3/8 ratchet. You'd never get a 1/4 inch ratchet in there to perform that one. So let's see if we can get this one. Okay, make a wish. Make it good. Come on. There's no way. So it's actually a really big blessing that we're doing this while the engine is on the stand, not already in there in the engine bay. Because I'll tell you, that would be a bear right there to win that. And if you strip these out, just imagine you strip the head of that bolt out, or even worse, you snap your bit off and it drops in the oil pan. Now you're pulling half the engine apart while it's in the car, whether you like it or not. You're in a position where that's what it's going to take to do it. Did you take my shop towel? Oh, that's where I left it. All right. Should we check the oil? There's nothing on the stick. I can't figure. Can you figure that out? We're going to have to work on that. Well, where's all the oil? Well, we'll put it back in. Maybe it'll happen the second time. Let's try it again. Maybe it's just in the way you hold your tongue. All right. Nothing. We took the oil pan off. Wise guy. You gotta have some fun. Yes. Well, there's the dipstick right there. It comes up right in the center of the deepest point of the pan. Right there. There it is. Hello. All right, so now we're in good shape to, again, I'm just going to move this over to this bolt because I can, and it'll stay on there. So we don't forget to take that apart. All right, light. Lights! Let's have some light over here. All right, let's get some light on the business. And now we're really close to getting everything off. Sometimes you can pop it from here, but this one is going to take us to the limit. So a couple of heel bars, get on something solid. You don't have to go crazy. See, it's coming off very, very good. Very good. And then this one, what I do here is just take that washer off, just thread that in a little bit, because you don't want to wear it, and you will. So I just get that behind the block, Get ready. It's almost there. So is Christmas, though. Here we go. See, and that bolt just saved me from wearing it. So far, everything's coming off except for those two bolts. I can't get over that. How you would... Somebody in the chat room that I was talking about said, oh, you don't have to... You can do the timing gears really easy in the car. And I right away was thinking about those two bolts. And what are the odds that they come out like butter? That's my first thought. I'm going, wow, it's easy. You can do it right. Oh, that's an easy set to change. I don't know about you, but I had to put a fair amount of pressure there and with a pretty big tool to get that to come off. So now, there we go. And what is also nice, see how clean the block is? It's spotless. So that also is a confirmation that, again, that the engine has very low mileage. Because this normally would be just filled up with what I call goat cheese, oil, sludge, built right up, but it's not. It's clean. The components are clean. So again, another indicator that the person was really good with their oil changes on this. And as far as I understand, the Jeep was purchased from the original owner. So it was 125,000 kilometers engine from brand new to one owner. Oops, and I just turned that. Did you see what I did there? But it's okay. I won't tell anyone. So just, use lint-free cloths. When you're wiping, you don't want to leave lint inside the engine anywhere. And if you walk away, if I was to leave the room now and say take a coffee break or whatever, a bathroom break, I just quickly slide the plastic bag back over it because you don't want grit inside the motor, and it will attract a little bit of grit because you can see there's oil residue laying around everywhere, and dirt just goes zzz. Yeah. It's like, if you fasten a peanut butter toast to the back of a cat and you drop it, will the cat land upside down? I don't know. It's kind of like that. Will the dirt not stick to it? Or will the cat fall upside down because it's a peanut butter toast attached to its back? I don't know. It's kind of like the time I asked my mom, I said, Mom, how come sheep are out there and when they get wet they don't shrink? I don't know. Okay, so you know what time it is? That's where you're supposed to say, What time is it, Motormouth? It's timing time. All right, let's move into the next phase. No, it's not the warm liquid goo phase, but we're coming over to the chuck wagon because we got parts. We got pieces, parts here galore, and that's important. It's not a bow tie. It's not. I was disappointed too. Okay, we got the timing chain here. We got the tensioner here. It's crazy. It's like Christmas here. Yeah. Except there's no tree. So I got all the parts. This is the oil. I refurbished this oil pan. It's all clean and ready to go on. It's all cleaned out. It's all cleaned on the edges. I'll clean that with some brake parts cleaner before I put the rest of it together. And put the new gasket on. I will wipe everything with I usually use carbon choke cleaner or brake parts cleaner. Something that won't leave a residue. All right, so we need the jam and the timing gears and all those components. And let's head on over to the engine and see what kind of stuff we can get into. This is engine lube. I won't put that on that stool. That's a sitting spot. All right, so we got this one. Man, it's just all kinds of happiness here. Don't forget that. I actually put that over here. That little piece goes inside the timing cover. Excuse me. Are we okay here? Yeah, the one time I was sitting on this stool, I'll tell you a story while I'm unwrapping Christmas presents here. I'm on this stool, I'm working away at the Corvette doing the brakes on the back, and I'll tell you, that was a tough job, and I knew it was going to be a tough job, but we conquered it. All the emergency brakes have been taken out and everything, so I was working in one side at the back at a time, and I'm working away. I'm singing to myself, having a good time. And one of the wheels broke off the back of my little cart, and I went flying backwards. I didn't get hurt. I was laughing so hard that I didn't get hurt. That's what I think happened. So it was good. It was all good. But I didn't expect that. I'm working away like this. Wheel comes off, and I just went completely over backwards. And I couldn't stop laughing. I didn't get hurt. But it could have turned out really, really bad, but I didn't get hurt. And what happened to this was, and it always does for some reason, the brush breaks off the cap. I don't know what that is all about, but this is, I call this the jam, because that's what it is, and we're not going to put gears on without some lube. This is a engine assembly lube, so I always use it because it will stay there for me. So when this engine fires up, and it might be another month or two before we get to that point, that there's some lube on there, some engine lube, and it will stay put completely. So, and I will use this also on the gears themselves. So you want to make sure that your engine lube does not get contaminated. So for some reason, they break off the lid, and I just seal the lid, and there's still a lot of product in there. So I'm just going to set that over here out of the way so that I don't knock it off, because we got to come back to it. We're going to put engine lube on the gear set and the chain. So see, there's a little hair right there. That looks like a pet hair. Yeah, possibly could be. So now we got a gear, and it's got a timing mark, believe it or not. So we should be down facing the bottom. So I just gonna wiggle that on there a little bit, if I can. Yep. So what I'm gonna do is I just take my little hammer very carefully and just get that started. And again, if you guys have done it yourself, you have your own technique. I just get that started on there, and I'll take it from there in a few minutes. Now we need a timing gear. So you're getting it. I was just going to pull this apart and then do it completely and then show you the finished part, but I think it's more important that you get a chance to see what it takes to do it, and also that, you know what, if I can do it, you can do it. And the biggest thing, if I could teach you anything, is work clean. If it's getting dirty in your work area, just stop. Take a few minutes. You know, if you got tools, you've got too many tools out that you're not using, just take a few minutes to stop and clean up. Sweep the floor. Put your garbage in the garbage. Having a neat and tidy work area is huge in this industry of fixing cars. And whether you're doing it as a business or you're doing it just for yourself, work clean and effective and efficiently the best you possibly can. And you know, if you make a spill, as I was taught by my military teacher, he would not be happy if he went past your stall and you're walking through oil and antifreeze and all kinds of stuff. He is going to give you a what for and how to. He taught us to stop and clean up. Stop and clean up. Just take a minute or two to stop and clean up. So I just want to get that lined up. And just take it nice and easy. Don't go nuts. Do you hear the difference there? Hear that? That means we're home. Don't push it. Because now everything has moved now. You notice that? Let me show you. You need the marker. Okay, who took the marker? Oh, here it is. So we're going to mark our dot like that. And I'm going to mark the tooth that's in line with it. We're going to mark our dot right here, right there. And I'm going to mark the tooth that's adjacent to it so I can see my marks. So I know where I got to be. So first and foremost, let me just reach back to the chuck wagon. Let's clean off this bolt. A little bit of brake clean. Now remember, I put my white mark there. It should still stay there when I'm done. Just wipe that bolt, wipe the washer, and pay attention to which side the washer went on. It's important. So when you're taking fasteners off, pay attention to where the fastener was and how it came apart. See that? That's definitely the head of the bolt. That side is definitely not. What is it showing me? It's showing me that this was sitting in there. But will it matter when it goes back on? No. Just as long as that's the outside, that's the way it should be, and that's the way we're going to do it. So I'm going to get this ready, and we will zap that back on with some Loctite. In a few moments, don't sit on there. And I put a little jam on there. Did you see that? A little setup. That's just a little setup. So I'm going to probably end up cleaning this twice, and that's okay because I'm just going to put this on there just to hold it for me. And again, you want to make sure that it's in the position. And I'm just going to just snug it up. That's all. I'm just going to seat the gear. here, and then I'm going to undo it. So now what I know is that I'm going to take this right back off because I haven't tightened it. I just used it to draw it into the camshaft. And again, guys, just pay attention, take your time, and double check stuff. It's okay. It's okay to do that. It's just to check yourself as you're going, and then when the process is done, double check, make sure you didn't miss something, because it happens. It still happens to me. So I'm just going to set this aside for the time being, and then we're going to get the chain out. But once I got this chain undone from the package, then I'm going to put some jam on. I can put that down here. I'm going to put some jam on the gears because I don't want this engine sitting there, because we still got a lot of components to build this engine up, is I don't want that dry. I just don't. So I'm going to hang that there. And again, can't say it enough. Work clean. Work really clean. If I drop this brush on the ground, I am not putting it back in the jar. I'm not. So I'm making sure that this timing gear set has lube when this engine's cranking over, because it's going to take. I will pressurize this engine before I fire it up and make sure that we have oil pressure before we fire it off. So again, you don't have to do a Rembrandt here. It doesn't have to be done with your left hand or your right hand. I'm just making sure I don't have a dry start when this engine fires up. That's all I'm doing. Some guys might use white lube, but I find it spins it off, so I don't. I used to. Many years ago I used to, but I don't anymore. This is what the engine builder guys suggested, and I've stuck with it ever since. So just take your time, make sure you hit every gear, every tooth, get the jam on there, get the jam on. And then we do the other gear as well. I've got to finish tapping that one on. I heard somebody say that already. You didn't tap that one all the way on there, Motor Mouth. You're right. It's just like when I used to show up for work. Jenkins, you're late. Thank you. Thank you for noticing. Thank you that I stayed till 1:30 in the morning last night printing off reports and getting them on your desk by 9 o'clock. But thank you for noticing. I'm 7 minutes late this morning. I appreciate that. You know, we need to be kind. Be kind to one another. You know, this stuff of me, I's got to stop. Help each other. Work together. Support one another. You know, be kind, be a friend, be patient. The whole package. There you go. Did you want me to sign that? Okay. There you go. If you can read that, I'll give you $20. Would you like some? No thanks. It looks yummy, but it's not yummy. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is. The jam is not yummy. So when I put the head together, you'll see that phase, because once we button up the bottom end, we will be flipping it back over, and we will do the top end, and that means the cylinder head goes on, all the valve push rods, everything goes on, everything's going to be covered in jam. All right, so what's next? We just got to tap this gear the rest of the way on, and just take it easy, you know, just that's it. You hear the difference? It's there. Stop. You don't have to lay a whooping on it. You just got to get it on there. So now, before I forget that, I'm going to move it close to where I'm working, so I can keep an eye on that. Okay. So now what? You say, well, what the heck? Well, you know what I need to do right now? Sing a song. No. Maybe next time. Not today. I need to line up my cam to my crank. And it's easy because it is. Okay? So I need to make sure I'm lined up. So that's where my Peter pointer comes in. And that's kind of not in the right spot. I'm off a hair bit. That mark right there. Can't trust that one 100% because it's kind of over here. It's in that valley. It's right kind of there. So I want to make sure we are golden. I'm liking it. I'll buy that for $1.99. So now we're going to chain it. Where's the new chain? Here it is, right here. So we're going to put some jam on this too, but not right away. We'll get it in position first, otherwise it's just too gooey. Can we do it? I don't know if we can. Well, you know what they say, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, both are correct. So we might have to just bring that timing gear back off, back it out a little bit, so we can get this on there. It's all good. So we'll just heel bar that back a little bit. It's okay. Don't get excited. It's going to come back real easy. Sometimes you can sneak that on and sometimes you can't. And when you can't, you don't panic, babies. Don't panic. You just work at it. So you might want to go down here, but you got to be careful you don't turn your gear. It's going to have to go this way. We got to make sure we are lined up properly. And we are. But it's still going to be a bit of a headache perhaps. But there is one more other way that you can do this. And that is to pull this gear completely off. Just bring it back. Because this is going to line itself up because it's keyed. This one is not. So sometimes you can win on this, sometimes you can't. So you just, you know what? I haven't done one of these motors before. This is my firstie. So, but you also got to make sure that your timing, if you do it this way, it's a little tricky because you need to know you're on time. So let's see if we can get it. It's going to be a bear. Okay. Patience. That's what it is. It's when you get rammy, it's not good. So don't get rammy. Because you've got to make sure that this gear, this timing chain is in position all the way around. So just take it easy. Take your time. And like I said, you know what? Everybody has their own method of doing things, and I'm okay with that. I do what works for me. You do what works for you. And I am very okay with that. And you're saying, well, you're moving the gear. Yeah, it wants to move. So, how do you do it then? That's my point. How do you do it? Well, you have to roll this around till you can get that lined up. Or you got to pull the cam back off. I don't usually like to do that myself, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, this is going to give us some problems. It's going to give us some problems, but let's have another go at it. I won't keep you bored with this. If it's going to take me a bit, we're going to take a break and then we'll come back and I'll have it on there and it'll be just like no problem. No problem. Yeah, I have to pull the cam back off, put the chain on, and then put it back in. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to leave it there for the moment. We'll finish this up in the next one. I'm just going to pull the cam gear back off and swing the chain on and then line it back up with the cam, and we'll be in good shape. So thanks for stopping by the Car Connection Workshop, where we always do things exactly the same, only different. Don't forget to like, share, tag, follow, and subscribe. It's free. It's free at Niall Jenkins YouTube channel. And we'll see you in the next one. So keep it under 100 and put the coffee on because we're coming to your house.